my job is to make sure that you are properly protected.
I don't want to put anybody in a position where they're going to, I don't know, their friends will get upset at them.
Wait until like referrals is truly going to become your number one lead source. And
if you don't believe in what you have for somebody else, why should they do business with you?
Because we want to be able to protect people, right? That's why we got into this job. Hello, marketing for insurance agents. Man, this is so exciting. I am so excited to be here today. Man, it is an awesome day. I get nervous, guys, that you guys are probably coming on and like, this isn't David. You're right. This isn't David Denning. This is Trista. And I am super excited to be on here with you guys. I'm super excited. Today is going to be an amazing day. It's going to be an awesome one because I am on with two of my favorite people that I've been able to work with this past 12 weeks. I would say as a coach, they've probably been two of the easiest people I've coached because they've done what they've been asked to do. They've done their homework. They've always showed up ready to go. And so it's been such a pleasure to be able to watch them watch their growth these past 12 weeks. So Caleb, I'm going to give you just a few seconds. Will you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you. The lines of business that you do.
Yeah. So again, my name is Caleb O'Donnell. I started a farmers insurance agency a year ago, P&C life business. But again, we focus on the P&C side for the majority of it. And this July was our 1 year anniversary of opening the doors to the agency. So a huge milestone for me personally. Super excited about it. P&C has been a little bit of a struggle, but going through everything we have and the things we've learned, it's helped us get through it and also write more business than we ever have. So we're super excited about where the agency is going and cannot wait to see what's in store these next few months.
Yeah, I'm super excited. You guys just celebrated 1 year as an agency owner and probably one of the roughest times to be an agency owner. So, but you guys are killing it. So awesome. All right. Mark, it's your turn. You are Caleb's producer. Mark, tell us just a little bit about you and your journey so far.
My name is Mark Dombrowski, and I'm still working for Caleb here. My brother-in-law, and been here for a year as well. And it's been amazing. Really been a roller coaster. You know, it's true what they say. Insurance is just up and down all the time, and so it's been crazy. But it's been amazing to see where I've come from, the growth that we as an agency have come through, and then being able to apply those things to me as well. And just as a producer, just stepping out of my comfort zone has just, man, that's the biggest thing for me, is just pushing. And Caleb's been there the entire time, just being my biggest supporter. And that's been awesome. So again, I'm licensed with P&C, with life as well, but mostly do P&C here. And so we've just been putting our nose to the grindstone through this really difficult time in P&C and just really been excelling, really doing really well, surprisingly, but it's been awesome, really, really rewarding.
All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes, guys. We got the introductions off the tables. Let's get into why everybody wants to learn today. So Caleb, let's talk about just the success in the last 12 weeks. So you've been an agency owner for a year. You just celebrated that. And we all know for in this group, and you guys are P&C, you guys know that how the P&C world right now is kind of very volatile in some areas, with companies pulling out and underwriting guidelines just getting more and more strict. But even in the midst of all of that, you have been able to see success through asking for referrals and your referral rate being up, building centers of influence with bankers and mortgage loan officers and realtors, and some even fun, cool things that you guys are working on. But then also to be able to go from you having to be less on the phones because now your producers are selling more, and that you grew 27%. And guys, they just told me their stats. I have to give an updated stat to what there are. So Mark's highest month ever before that he ever personally wrote was about 21,000, and that was during Producers Academy. Prior to that, it was about 12,000, I think. Yep. But this month, as of today, right now, he has personally written $30,000 in P&C this month. And so it was funny because he was at like 28,000. He's like, wait, Caleb, you forgot a sale. So we knocked him over that 30,000.
That's right. Yeah, it's important.
And it's important. So
personal
Caleb,
record.
Exactly. Caleb, walk us through that journey of these past 12 weeks and what that's been like for you.
I guess when I was first considering needing some extra training and things like that, the agency was doing okay, but we were working too hard to get each sale. And I mean, in the sense of myself and my producers were in a position where our closing percentages just weren't that great. And so we had to have so many conversations, give out so many quotes before we were closing deals. And so the amount of quotes we had to give out to hit sales goals just was a unattainable number because our closing ratio just wasn't that good. So as I was looking at it, I knew that we had to do something to fix it. We had done some other trainings before and they helped bring some structure to our calls, but it wasn't moving the needle enough. We had, I was in TCC and I had heard about Producers Academy, talked to some other agents and they kind of told me, how it helped them. And I thought, you know what, it's an investment, but I'm trying to start a business. I'm trying to run a successful agency. I'm going to have to invest in it. And so I decided to sign myself and mark up for it. Right off the rip, we decided day one, I told him, I said, listen, we're not doing this unless we do it and we dive in 100%. Like every little thing Trista says, we're doing it exactly how she says it.
Yep.
That way we know that it's either us or her, whether it works or doesn't work, right? There's no way where we could take our hands off and just go. So we did that. And right off the rip, the very first thing was just our mindset when we had our calls shifted. And my other producer will tell you, Mark will tell you, when we take on the identity of a risk advisor and not an insurance, hey, I'm an insurance agent. The risk advisor was where it changed. And when we started talking to people on the phone, it turned into a conversation of, listen, my job is to make sure that when something happens, your insurance is there for you. And so taking that model into the call, that risk advisor transformed the way our calls went. The quality of conversation instantly changed. And that was extremely quick. And we started seeing increase in our numbers. And it was fantastic. And then we had some underwriting things happen with our carriers and it made things more difficult. And our numbers, we hit record numbers. Every month that we were in Producers Academy was a higher number than any other month before. And it was just May, June. And so it was exciting, but we could see the screws getting tightened. And then July hit and we got off to a super slow start. But Mark and I always look back at all the things that we talked about. And it was, hey, continue doing the consistent things. Just continue doing them. And we did. And Mark was meeting with people like loan officers or realtors. And I was having conversations with loan officers and we're still trying to do these things. And then the end of July hits closer to the end and right after Producers Academy ends. And some of that starts to come back to us a little bit. And we start to see the fruit of it, but consistently doing that work that it has. And now it's led to a record-breaking month that we've had. It's just super exciting. So it wasn't, I don't want to make it sound like we were just, woe is me at the beginning, but this was 100% preventative measures of, listen, it is not sustainable. My guys giving out 20 quotes or something before they make a sale. Like that will lead to burnout.
Yeah.
And so I knew we have to get better at our job. And, the agency as a whole has more now than doubled our closing percentages. And that has made all the difference in the world. The quality of going into work, your mindset changes when if I can hit these many quotes today, I'm going to sell a policy. Eventually it's going to come to me. So I would say that's the biggest thing, that closing percentage doubling, just the mindset that creates and the confidence knowing that even if they don't buy, I know I did my job because they know more about what their insurance needs to do for them. So that's the biggest thing.
I love that. Caleb, talk to me a little bit about, I know you kind of dove into it a little bit, but I really want agents that are listening to this to really hear the mindset shift of being being an insurance agent to being a risk advisor, right? Because we are so quick, and I train on this, right? We're so quick to say, yep, we're an insurance agent. Yep, I do insurance for a living. Mm-hmm. But then the shift that happens, and to kind of talk about, and I'll ask you too here in a minute, Mark, that shift that kind of happened for you, kind of a light bulb going off of like, hey, I'm more than an insurance agent, but I'm actually a risk advisor. I'm that trusted risk advisor that my clients are going to be able to trust me, to know me, and to know that I'm going to properly protect them. Kind of talked about that light bulb moment that for you.
So I would say the biggest thing, just a story, I guess. I had a client, and it's actually a relative of mine. And, when I first got started, some people say, hey, Caleb, give me a quote, see if you can help me out. And they want to be a help to me too, right? You're just starting your business out. They want to help. And at that time, our rates weren't extremely competitive with hers, but she didn't have the right coverages either. And when we looked at them, we thought they were kind of low, but I didn't have the right mindset at the time. And so I didn't have that deep diving conversation with her about it. Well, fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, she's in my office and we're actually talking about life insurance. And before she left, I just brought it up and I said, hey, listen, I need to tell you something. When we quoted your auto insurance last time, I didn't do my job properly. I want to be honest with you. I know now things that I maybe didn't back then, but you are underprotected right now. You do not have the right coverages in place. Yep. And I told, and I went into that with her and I told her about it because I felt like I had let her down because through going in the mindset shift of a risk advisor, I realized my job is not to just, hey, Caleb, give me a quote, run some numbers, and 3 minutes later, I give them a quote. Hey, it's in your email. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think. And through talking to other carriers and things that they do, I realized that's what they're doing. Hey, do you want us to email or text it to you? And that's when I realized that's not why people have insurance. They have it so when tragedy strikes, it is there to meet their needs. Yeah. And unless I am asking the right questions and figuring out what the needs are, I'm not doing my job. And when going through a lesson and you talking about what a risk advisor actually means in deep diving questions, understanding that is really when it switched. And I started to think about all those people that I just gave a quote to. I didn't figure out so you want this just to match what you have right now? Okay, sounds good. Well, I don't know if that's covering them right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now that flipped. And I think people have really caught on to that when I tell them, hey, listen, my job is to make sure that you are properly protected. Yeah. And they appreciate that. And now my conversation is from the point of view of I'm just trying to help you and nothing else. And it's made all the difference in the world, really. And so I think looking back and seeing where I messed up has helped me realize what I need to do now because of the emphasis it placed in the Producers Academy. I had never heard the term risk advisor, and it was like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I love that, Caleb. And it's so crazy because I learned that when I was a producer. When I started at Allstate as a producer, and I was terrified. And Caleb and Mark know this story. Some of you guys may know this story because I just like to tell on myself, but I was terrified to pick up the phone and to sell. Absolutely terrified. Yeah. And the very first call that I made, the person said hello, and I hung up on them. Thanks, Mark. You already
that's great.
Mark, we're supposed to laugh that hard. But it is true. Like, I was literally terrified, and they hung up, and my agency owner was like, they said hello, and I was like, I know. And he's like, why did you hang up? And I was like, because I didn't know what to say. Like, I was that terrified of what to say and messing up and have all that fear. But it was when I went to a training, nothing like the Producers Academy, but I went through a training, and that's when I first heard that term of we are not just an insurance agent, but we are a trusted risk advisor. That's when, to me, the light bulbs went off, and I was like, oh, I can do this. Because I like helping people, and I want to make sure people are properly protected. And it makes sense for me,
And that's why we joined in the first place, to help people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it finally clicked, and that was it.
Yeah. And so talk to me. Okay, Mark, I'm going to bring it over to you. So talk to me about, so obviously we teach in the Producers Academy, and it's probably I would say one of your favorite things that we learned, because you talked about it so much in your coaching calls, but the one call close, right? Yep. And I have to just there's 2 times I'm going to pick on you today, and it's all in good fun.
Only 2 times? Okay.
Only 2 times. You guys see how much fun we have, and you guys probably know our coaching calls are so much fun. But when Mark, his one call closed, he was the first to record it to me, send it to me, and he had this lady that he was and we were a little bit higher, or he was a little bit higher, and he was just pushing. He was just assuming the call, because we teach in the one call close. You don't ask for the call, but that you assume the close, right? Yep. And he just kept going back, and the lady was like, I need to think about it. And he was like, that's great, and then he went right back. So how are we going to take care of this today? And I was just like, man, this guy, and it wasn't because he was being pushy. It was because he really did truly uncover gaps in her current coverage, and she was exposed massively. And so he wanted to make sure that she was properly protected. And the lady even thanked him and said, thank you so much, for having this conversation with me. So Mark, talk to us a little bit about how that one call close framework that you learned really did change the trajectory of everything, with more people on the phone, with more quotes, and then closing more deals, to where you just closed $30,000 in AP this month.
Yeah. It's amazing, really is. Man, I put into practice as soon as I could every lesson that we learned coming through the academy. And just because it was so practical, and you could tell it had been worked through, it had been practiced already, and applying it to my daily job and talking to customers, I saw the fruits of it immediately. And just being able to implement, that structure and building that rapport first, it's so important. And finding those pain points and being able to dig in and find the areas that they are struggling with now, why they are shopping. What's the purpose of you? Why are you shopping around today? But you can't have those real conversations if you don't get to know them first. And being able to build that rapport is so crucial. Every single part of the one call close is just as important as the next. And without one of them, you get to the end of the call and you're struggling to assume the sale, because you didn't do your job correctly. When you put all those pieces together, that's exactly what it is. You are assuming the sale, because it's that easy. And you're not going to get it every single time, but it's a lot easier than begging for the sale or asking for the sale, which is more like it. You're really begging for it because, please, I know we're higher, but please. Instead, you know what they're going through. You're relating to them. You're finding out the areas that they're struggling with, and you are solving those problems for them. Yep. And that's the biggest thing, just building that value of what we are bringing to the table and filling in those gaps. And it's it made such a difference. Trista, this last month, July, I'm at a 9.7 close rate right now. I was amazed. I'm like, holy smokes. Where when we started, I think I was under 4. I was under 4%. And just by implementing the one call close made such a difference in my closing ratio every single month.
That's awesome, Mark.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. Mark, you talked a little bit about powerful questions and uncovering those pain points. Talk to us a little bit. Don't give all my secrets away now, but but let them know, those that are listening, what maybe are the top 2 deep diving questions that maybe you asked or started to implement to try to start to uncover pain points or to uncover gaps in coverages to then be able to have a conversation about properly protecting their families. What would you say those top 2 would be, or maybe top 1?
Well, the biggest one for me was asking, other than price, what is the most important thing to you when it comes to your insurance? Because that is getting their mind off of price and being able to focus on, okay, what else is important? And Trista, I had so many people sit back and say, nobody's ever asked me that question before. I have to think about that for a second. And actually sat back, and it forced them to think about, why do I have insurance? And what's important about it? And it immediately gets their mind off, I'm shopping for a better price. And now I'm looking towards, okay, what is actually important about insurance? Boom, it started clicking. That's my favorite one by far.
Yeah, that's my favorite one too.
Absolutely.
And it's true, right, Caleb? Right, Mark? Like, it gets people up, and we teach this in the Producers Academy. As an insurance risk advisor, right? Like, we know that the number one thing most of the time that people are shopping is because of price. Why? You turn the TV on, and what do you hear? 15 call in 15 minutes can save 15%. Right? For $9.99, you can have insurance just like me, or call and call Nationwide or Flow Rider. All that. I mean, every stinking commercial that's out there is based on one thing, and it's saving money on your insurance. And so, as risk advisors, when we're like, I just wish they wouldn't market that way, because we know that that's not the most important thing. Yes, the price is important, especially in today's time, especially when people are more budget price conscious, but in that time where, God forbid, a claim does happen, they're not going to care about paying that extra $10 a month if they know that Caleb or Mark or you listening took the time to make sure that they were properly protected, right? And so we know that as risk advisors, the importance of that.
Exactly.
That's huge. And like Caleb said about the risk advisor, first day I put that into practice. it was, man, that was a game changer. So many game changers through the entire Producers Academy. But having that mindset, and then right away, you're letting them know I'm a risk advisor. And because of that, this is how our call is going to go. And you're letting them know right up front, and you are laying the groundwork. It puts you so much more in control. Rather than being on opposite sides of the table, immediately it puts you on the same side of the table with them.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I love it. That's one of my favorite questions. That's why I teach it. So I love that one. That one and some other ones, but you would have to, I can't give all my secrets away today. But we have some pretty fun things coming up in the future, so I'll be able to share those with you. So Caleb, actually Mark, hold on one second. Caleb, I'm going to get to you. Mark, I'm going to get to your other thing. I told you I was only going to pick on you twice, but but the other thing, so part of the one call close is asking for referrals, right?
Yes.
And asking for referrals, are like, oh man, yes, I need to ask for referrals. I just forget. It's not part of my process. Or maybe I'm afraid to ask for referrals. I'm afraid of being told no or whatever, whatever that may be. I'm sure some of us, all of us could probably relate at some point in time. And so Caleb, Caleb, you as the agency, and you as the agency owner, we had a meeting with Mark, and, for Mark to increase his referrals, he made a goal to, I think it was to get 15 referrals a week. And he had emailed me exactly how he was going to do it. Every sale he was going to ask to get 3 referrals, but he had a contingency in there in the email where he said, if I don't hit this number, then the last hour of my day, I'm going to go through and call people. And I remember the first time that I was looking through his activity tracker sheets, because in the Producers Academy, every Friday, you have to turn an activity tracker sheet into me so that I can see your activity. And so I remember, Mark, when you sent it in, and then we had the meeting that following Monday, and I was like, hey, you didn't get your 15. And you're like, yeah, about that. And I was like, wait, so this email, let me just pull this email up, Mark. And I read what he had wrote verbatim. I was like, you wrote that, right?
I did.
I didn't write that, right, Mark? And Mark was like, oh, that's when I think he realized she's not playing with me.
Brutal.
But
this isn't for the faint of heart.
It isn't. I did tell Caleb, just in all fairness, that it was an intense 12 weeks. I'm not sure if he sent that memo to you or not.
That's right.
But talk to us, Mark. Talk to the agents that are listening today about the importance of referrals and how referrals really became and is becoming a game changer, to where now, like, you've adopted like the name, you've become like the referral king, to where that's kind of talk to us about that.
Oh man, that still is one of the most intimidating parts of being a risk advisor, is asking for referrals. And I had a bad experience with it. Maybe you haven't had one in the past as well, but years ago I had a bad experience getting insurance, and they asked for referrals, and I gave a number, and this person gave me a call later, and they were very upset that I gave their number. That right there, just froze me up. I never wanted to do that again. I never wanted to put anybody else in that type of situation. And that was my mindset going into asking for referrals. I don't want to put anybody in a position where they're going to, their friends will get upset at them. And so, Trista and Caleb both kind of walked me back off that ledge and said, that's, that was handled the wrong way. And this is how you do it correctly. And going through Producers Academy really not only gave me the tools, but the confidence to ask for those referrals the right way, and to show me I think it was a statistic. I'm not sure, I hope I'm not giving too much away here, but
you can give it away if you remember.
A crazy statistic, I still have it on my wall right here in front of me, that agents, if you make over $200,000 a year, agents who make that much money every single year, their number one lead source is referrals. And that was, I want to make that much every single year. And so I need to start accessing these referrals. They are free quotes, free lead that I'm just not asking for. And so just getting the confidence to start asking for them. And my biggest mistake right away, I focused so much on it. I saw somebody ask the question, how do we ask for referrals the right way? And I made it such a big deal in my mind that I don't want to make this awkward for you. I know this can be awkward. And I didn't get any referrals asking that way, because I made it a huge deal. It's just part of the process. And when I made it just part of the process at the end of my call, hey, lastly, this is something, this is the last question I have for you. Boom, asked it, and I started getting referrals left and right. And I just, for example, today's Monday, Friday, I just sold a referral, and I got another referral from him. It starts clicking, it starts kicking in, and it just, man, it's made such a difference for me, to where I'm getting calls coming in. I had somebody else call me today, left me a voicemail. Hey, I've got a referral for you. Here you go. They're just starting to come in now. And
Yes.
it's amazing. It's possible. I'm telling you.
And here's the crazy thing, and I'm going to go to Caleb here in 1 second. Here's the awesome thing. I want you guys to understand, like, just 1 month ago, Mark was not this confident about referrals. He was like, it's not working, Trista. I'm doing what you're telling me to do. I promise you. And I was like, Mark, you just got to keep going.
Yep.
You got to keep doing this. And Caleb and I were on a coaching call with him. And we're like, Mark, you have it. Just ask again. Every no is one step closer to your yes. You can do it.
Yep.
And I could tell that, like, I could tell in Mark's eyes, he was like, okay. But in Mark's eyes, he's like, I don't want to believe you. I'm not believing you. I'm just going to go back. But I had Caleb in my corner back as my backup. And Caleb was like, just do it. And now here he is just a month later saying that referrals are rolling in. On average, they're getting about 8 to 9 referrals a week. And that's just the icing on the cake. Wait until like referrals is truly going to become your number one lead source. And Caleb's not going to have to buy any or as many leads, cold leads or internet leads, because it's
Absolutely
part of your routine to get those referrals.
I'm working on it.
He's working on it. So Caleb, talk to us a little bit about just the growth as an agency owner, the growth that you have seen in Mark as your producer. And not just, obviously we see the growth in your agency from the numbers, and numbers don't lie, right? But the growth that you have seen in Mark as a producer.
Mark deserves a lot of credit for it. Like you have said, he, as soon as we learn something, the best thing I can say about Mark is he immediately implements. And so he starts working on it. But I can remember when, we were talking about, hey, we need to get referral partners. We need to get center of influences. And he said, he's like, Caleb, I'm willing to start working on this with you. But if you don't mind, can you kind of come with me and do it? And I can kind of learn. And I said, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But I didn't do a lot with it because I knew Mark was a go-getter and he wouldn't wait around. And eventually he's like, hey, just so you know, Caleb, I'm going to reach out to this person and this person, like you kind of talked about. I said, perfect. Go ahead. And literally only 1 week later, he comes into my office. Hey, I've got an appointment this day to go get lunch with him. You okay if I go meet him? I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Am I coming with you? No, I think it's just going to be me. All right. Sounds good. And so, he definitely, you could see the confidence levels rising. And him and I always talked about something, and I always reminded him about it, is I would ask him and say, Mark, when you picture yourself coming into work 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, do you want to come in knowing, okay, I got to make 125 dials today with all my internet leads? Or do you want to come in and know, hey, I got a couple of emails from this person saying they need quotes, or I've got my calendar's already been filled from previous days because we're working old, referrals, all this kind of stuff. Which option is more appealing to you? And obviously we all want people calling us. We all want our calendars filled from, referral partners, COIs, emailing in saying, hey, I got this client who needs a quote. We want those all day over having to grind on the phones.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's what I want. And I can tell it's clicked with him because he's willing to put the effort forth in those areas to do it.
Yeah.
And so I've seen tremendous growth. And because of the conversations he's having with people and the way he's helping them with their insurance needs, that has absolutely, I believe, given him confidence to ask for the referrals because now he believes in what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we talked about that a lot. If you don't believe in what you have for somebody else, why should they do business with you?
Exactly.
And so now he has that confidence like, hey, I'm helping people every day.
Yeah.
Don't you think I should help other people the way I helped you? Who comes to mind?
Yeah.
And so he has confidence in asking for the referrals. And that's kind of translated into the way he does business every day now. And I can tell he believes in what he's doing because he knows
100%.
He's helping people. And that has 100% come through in everything else he does. And I think business comes as a result of that, whether it's now or in the future. When you believe in what you're doing and you put the right steps in place, the business will come.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. If listen, those that are listening right now, take this, you're getting something free from me right now. And that is that fact is that as a trusted risk advisor, right? That's what we are as a trusted risk advisor. It is our job to ask for referrals. Why? Because we want to be able to protect people, right? That's why we got into this job. So if I just, closed Mark and his wife and his precious baby, if I just got them all properly protected, then my job isn't done. My job is to now ask for the referrals so that I can protect Mark's friends and families. Because why wouldn't I want to protect the people that Mark knows, the closest people that mean somebody? Why wouldn't I want to? So that's the kind of mindset that I had to adopt myself as an agent.
Exactly.
And that I teach in the Producers Academy, because that's our job. We're not just to sell a policy to check it off and say, yep, I sold another policy today.
Right.
It is to make sure that if Mark is my client, then I'm not just protecting Mark, his wife, and his precious little one, but I'm protecting Mark's closest friends and families. And so why not ask for the referrals? I mean, we don't have them. Why? Because we don't ask. We're afraid. We allow fear to stop us. And the number one reason, or the number one and number two reason, is I hear people that don't ask for them. One is that I'm afraid to be told no. Well, then we probably should consider the business that we're in, because we're going to hear no quite a lot, right? We hear, and sometimes they add explicits right behind the no or before the no, right? It's like
instead of the no.
No. Yeah, right. It's like, oh, I haven't learned that word before. Like, and then the second reason is that I hear all the time, like, well, if I ask for it, they're gonna want to take their business that I just closed, and they're gonna run and go find another agency. In 15 years of being an insurance agent and an agency owner, and now a coach, I have never had not one single person ever come to me and say, oh, because you asked for a referral, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere. So those are just oftentimes our own thought process that gets in our way, and it's because of fear. Fear comes in, and it allows for us to it really does paralyze us, and we're not going to ask, and we're missing out. And it's not just the money. We're not doing our job if we're not asking for referrals. That's the bottom line, right? So Mark, I'm going to ask you, then I'm going to ask Caleb. Mark, what would you say to somebody that's right now that's listening, that maybe is a producer, or maybe is just an insurance risk advisor, but they're not an agency owner, so it's just them? What would you say to somebody that's maybe struggling in sales, or maybe struggling like you were, and they want to, or maybe not struggling, but they want to take their business to the next level? They want to protect more families. They want to be that agent, like you said, that makes over $200,000. What would you say to that agent that's listening right now to them? What would you say to them?
Sign up for the Producers Academy. That's what I would say. I mean, honestly, what Caleb said earlier is exactly right. And the fact that the conversation he had with me, and that's what makes him such a great agency owner. He made me, think about, all right, where do I want to be at in 3 years and 5 years? And, I honestly, doing this for a year before Producers Academy, just dialing out and calling, making 100, 200 calls a day, just trying to get by. It was already getting exhausting after 1 year, and I feel like I'm a hard worker. I'm pretty determined. I'm a go-getter. But even after a year, I was starting to get tired of it. And I'm like, this is not going to be doable for 3-5 years out. I'm going to be too exhausted. I'm going to want to leave. And it's going to take me that love out of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so going through the Producers Academy, Caleb really sold it. He did a fantastic job. Hey, they've got this guarantee. They're going to really help us out. They've got one-on-ones. It's going to be hard. It's going to be intense, absolutely. But they're telling us, man, we can really hit these numbers. And I hear a lot of good news about it. Just these different agencies that have gone through it, man, they have just doubled or tripled their growth, and they're doing tremendous. And so I'm like, well, let's do it. I'm all in. And so I think it was the first week, right? We had to write down our goals. We had to write down our why. And I had to write down my commitment statement to my agency owner, what I'm committing to him. That just made me stop and think, all right, he's committing this to me. What am I doing to commit to him? And I committed myself to this program, to the Producers Academy, to just dive all in head first and, just implement everything I could. As a result, man, this month, I'm telling you, it's a fantastic feeling. Breaking records every single month, being able to have calls come into you instead of calling out. I mean, today I made 29 phone calls today, and I made 2 sales today. That's how all last week was. I made tops 50 calls compared to 100 or 200 calls, and I was making at least 1 to 2 sales a day last week. It feels really good. It feels really good. If you want to feel good every day going to work, this is for you.
Yeah, I love it. I can tell that you're a salesperson, Mark. No kidding. Who taught you those sales skills, Mark?
Only the best. Only the best.
Yeah. So awesome. I love it. All right, Caleb, what would you say, Caleb, to an agency owner? So an agency owner is listening to this now or later, and they have producers underneath them. They want to take their agency to that next level. What would you say to that agency owner that maybe is on the fence? Like, do I do this? Is it worth it? What would you say to that person other than what Caleb said or what Mark said, join the Producers Academy? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I just look at myself and where I was at. I think a lot of time agency owners work so much and they do so much of the work in their agency because they may not have the staff to be able to do it for them to where they can now focus on other things. What wasn't mentioned earlier is before the Producers Academy, our record numbers were with me selling as well. This month, we hit an all-time high. And yes, I sold in one sense because I had referral partners and things like that, but I didn't get a single paid lead for myself at all. And I think that speaks volumes to the growth of the agency. And now I don't want to mislead you. And if you have a staff member who isn't dedicated or isn't willing to work, then yeah, I wouldn't encourage you to use your money on that person. Yeah. But I knew I had somebody who wanted to be successful and was willing to work for it. And so it came down to me saying, Caleb, do you want to have to feel like you have to do all the work in your agency in 2 years from now, 4 years from now? And that answer was no. I wanted to know that I have staff who can do certain things that I have expectations for and be able to hit those numbers. And I knew that would take an investment. I could go 3 years and I could make mistake after mistake and learn from those mistakes, or I could bite the bullet, as they say, and let's invest in myself and my team right now, and let's get us to that point quicker, an accelerated path to getting to that point. And it truly has been rewarding. And that's really all I can say is that I kind of realized I do not want kind of what I told Mark. Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Which path do you want to be going down? Yeah. And I knew where I wanted to be as an agency owner. And if you say, I really would love if I had some staff that could help me in this growth process, that could help me get to this point quicker. And that's where I came to. I knew where I wanted to be, where I wanted to get to. It just came down to how do I get there? And I knew I had to be willing to invest in myself, time and financially. And so that's just the biggest thing is understanding I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. There are people out there that can help me. I just have to be willing to invest in that and have the humility to say, yeah, I don't have all the answers. Yeah. And so when we joined the Producers Academy, that's why we said day one, we're going to implement whatever they tell us to do. We're going to implement it. We're going to put it in action because I knew there were some things going on in my agency where I knew I wouldn't have the time to sell as much. So Mark's numbers had to get better. That was not an option that he had to. And so I knew we just have to invest. And all I can say is, numbers have doubled. Closing percentages have literally more than doubled. And, that's really all I can say. It was definitely worth it. If I knew what it was going to produce right now, I would do it all over again. And so I can only speak to my own personal experience, but what it has done is it has enabled me to partake in the training, but the weight of the training has been lifted off my shoulders. As an agency owner, if you are one, there's 100 different things running through your mind. There's this claim, there's this, whatever it is. It would be really nice if the training of your staff, you could participate in it rather than coach it. And so that's what it has done. And it's super rewarding. That's all I can say.
I love it. Guys, I just have to say, Caleb thought he was going to get out of this unscathed, but I do have to remind him of when we were doing our workshop. It was a 2-day long workshop. It was our virtual instead of our in-person. Caleb, you attended that. And that's when we really was ready to launch the third Producers Academy class. And you came into a different setup breakout room with me, and he was very honest with me. He looked at me in the eyes virtually and he said, you tell me, is this going to work? I will do this if you can promise me. And I was like, Caleb, I promise as long as you and whatever producer you put in do the work that it's going to work. And he was like, okay, well then sign me up. And I remember like that moment, I was like, oh no, the pressure's on. But these two guys, let me just tell you, they have been 100% committed. They show up on time every time. In the Producers Academy, there's homework. Mark never missed a homework assignment. He never was a day late. He was always the first one to get it into my inbox at the time that it was due. And so,
I'm a teacher's pet. What can I say?
Oh man, I mean, you are matching your agency owner. I don't know if you guys realize, but the shirts are matching. I mean, I don't know if you guys planned that or what.
No,
that's just
we're not that insane, Trista.
But
and maybe that's the brother-in-law.
I am colorblind too, so it doesn't really. I could imagine if I wanted to. So
just giving you a hard time. I did notice that. I was like, brother-in-law, agency owner, and now you're matching.
Let's move on.